your little gadgets.
Just
I like your toys. All right, so EKE 347 liquid level controller. We've had this a long time on the old platform. You might run into one out there. It's similar. It's called the EKC 347, and as usual over years, you know, you have different generations. The latest is the EKE 347. And if that's not enough, I think Danfoss is planning to come out with a universal controller down the road that is going to envelop a lot of this. I don't know when that's going to happen, but for now, this is what we have for this. Main function is to be used in conjunction with a level sensor and to regulate liquid level in pump packages, separators, and intermediate coolers, economizers, condensers, receivers. That's pretty much it. The controller receives a, okay, so remember we're supplying a 24 volt DC to the level sensor, so it's outputting a 4 to 20 loop. So the controller is looking for a 4 to 20 milliamp signal from the level sensor. And it uses algorithms to control any number of valves, okay? The most common is the ICM motorized valve with an ICAD actuator. I do see the AKVA, and I do see solenoid valves as well for on-off control, but I think the most common is the ICM. So here's the features. Got a graphical full text display. Like we talked, is like a lot of what we have quick setup wizard. So when you power it the first time, it's going to take you through a wizard for setting it up. It can control liquid level on low or high pressure side of the system. So, for example, you could be controlling the liquid level when you're drawing liquid out of the tank, okay? And so you're concerned with low level there, or you're filling a tank on the inlet side with a controller, and this is looking at it, so that would be the high level you're more interested in. The key to that is this controller is going to want to know what the mode of regulation is. Is it high or is it low? I think there's a third one. Well, I think we may see that here. I may confuse myself on this. Okay. But controls on high and low. It has relay outputs, 3 of them, for upper and lower level limits and a common alarm. So any kind of alarm can activate something, okay? And it's got an output that's used to control the device, the solenoid, before a motorized valve. Okay, so kind of similar to what we talked about before, where you can turn it on and off, just the ability to do it. You've got a solenoid valve there to do that with that output. So that's not just the valve control, the motorized valve control, that's just a solenoid valve. Easily integrated with PLC systems. You can use Modbus. I think we talked about that. Manual control of the relay outputs. And just an application example. So here you can use just the level sensor, or you can use it in combination with a level switch, which is what we're showing here. We got all the possible scenarios here. So we got our controller. We've got it operating an ICM valve in a valve station. So it's putting liquid into this recirculator, and then your AKS 4100 is telling the control, and you've got a set point, and you've got a high alarm and a low alarm, but it's telling it, what the level is, and then telling the valve with the algorithm telling the valve what to do, whether to modulate open more or to close. And then the reason for the AKS 38, that's a level switch. That's just a switch. So in this case, let's say we're saying, okay, we're concerned with a low level. Then when we get to ultra low level, then this switch can be wired into the digital input on that controller, and that's going to shut the whole thing down, and everything shuts off. The ICM valve shuts off and everything. You can do, that's not common. The more common is high limit. That's what you typically see. But to me, this looks like the diagram is saying low. This is what it looks like to me, but
Looks more like to me operating level.
well, it might be
Workflow is.
operating level.
On our receiver, we have a low level like that, because we do, injection on the compressors for cooling.
Mhm.
So, you know, if our receiver got too low.
Oh, okay, yeah, you
We
would.
would shut the cylinder valve.
Yep,
valve off.
exactly.
We're gonna continue.
But the way this is wired, yeah, when that triggers, it's gonna shut this thing off. So to me, the high would be more common in that one. That's what I would think. I say that only because of the configuration that you're putting in. You're filling into this tank as opposed to drawing out. Graphical full text, so the buttons our buttons aren't all consistent, but yeah, this one has an X, which is the back. You scroll up, scroll down, and then there's an enter button. So it's pretty much intuitive when you go in. And here's what I wanted to show you. So the bell, that means there's an alarm, okay? The stop, it's either gonna say stop or run, or there's another word, I forgot now what it says actually. Stop. What is it?
I don't have one.
Yeah, I can't, you don't have one, so I've lost it in my brain now. But you get the point. If it says stop, the guy calls me and he says it's not working. I say, well, look in the display of the EKE 347 and look right under where the alarm bell would be. You know, what does it say? And he'll say, yeah, it says stop. And I said, you don't have your main switch on. So he goes into the reference menu and he turns it on. Away he goes. It starts running, you know. So that's the reason I point that out. The other stuff is your upper and lower. So 15% and 85%, okay? So it's gonna control between that, and then you're gonna have a set point. Your set point is 52%. And then this is just saying the motorized valve is operating at whatever percentage. In this case, it's 0%, is what it's saying there, but that would have a number in there. Okay. Yeah, for status menu, push enter button for 1 second while at the home display. Okay, so that's going to give you a status. Setup and service menu, you hold the enter button. This is kind of good to know. So there's 3 password levels. There's 100, 200, and 300. The one you guys need to know is 300. So if you hold the enter button down, it asks you for a password. If you enter 300, the number 300, and then hit enter, it's going to give you access to everything to set this thing up. Okay. There's other passwords, but that one gives you, that's the highest level that you can get. And we usually only share that with people such as yourself. I mean, that's not something you're going to go to an owner and say, yeah, you can go enter 300, you can do anything you want to. It's not what we're going to do. Yeah, you just press enter if you want to change the number, you adjust the value up and down, and then you hit enter to save it. It's the same. And then X is back if you want to go back, if you want to undo something. Your quick setup wizard is like what we talked about on everything so far, is it comes up, and it's going to take you through a wizard. It's very short, and then the settings are all retained during power failure. The important thing to see here is that right there. So you do a quick setup. It's not going to be all of this stuff, okay? It's going to be the main things that you set, and then when it gets done, it's going to go back to the setup and service menu, and there's where your main switch is under reference. You go to that, hit enter, and it's going to say main switch on or off. It's going to say off, you're going to hit up, it's going to say on, hit enter, away you go. It's really that easy. You know, I keep forgetting this thing is, yeah, I talk, and then it's telling some of this. So, yeah, access restricted by passwords. Yeah, so again, like all our controllers, so the reason for the switch is that some stuff can't be set, parameters can't be set with it on, so it's turned off. I get that question a lot, but unfortunately it's going to be off by default, and then to make this thing regulate and work, it's going to have to be turned on. So it's because we figure you're gonna set it up, and it's got to be off for that. So it's It's that simple. I don't see anything else there. Yeah, so when it's done with the quick setup, I've already said this, but it's gonna take you to the main menu, and then you're gonna be able to turn the main switch on. So, quick setup, what's there? Well, language, okay, English. System configuration, the default is ICAD plus NC, which is a normally closed solenoid. Operation mode is defaulted to master. Okay, so that means this is the master. You could have slaves and all kinds, but that's getting more into Modbus and doing all kinds of weird things. So that's why it's defaulted there. So here's that regulating principle I was talking about. So you got to select that. The default is low, but it could be high. So you need to actually select that. The set point is going to default to 50%, so you can set that. The lower limit is default is 15. The upper level limit is 85. The level signal setup is defaulted as AKS 4100. Valve position feedback is not used as a default. So there's connections on this controller where you can actually bring like our ICM valve has connections on it that is valve feedback. You could bring that into this controller, and then there's a selection for that, and you can display valve feedback. Probably good for troubleshooting, but nothing else really, honestly. Then the common alarm setup. So now you're here, you got a high, you got a low, but now you got a common alarm. So this is going to go off. This is going to switch when any other error, any other alarm happens. But you can tie that to either a high or a low alarm. The default is you tie it to the high. You can set it to tie it to the low, or you can set it to tie it to nothing. It just stands alone by itself. Okay. Yeah, this is getting. So you can do time delays on alarms. So the alarms delay. You guys understand hysteresis. So you can do hysteresis. So that's almost like a. You know, when the alarm turns off, when it resets, that distance or that amount. When the alarm's cleared, level alarms can be set up to activate the common alarm. Okay, we actually talked about that. This is kind of repeating itself. Technical data. The important stuff here is the controller is, like I said earlier. This is the exception, 24 volts AC, and that's true of our controllers. But the level sensor and the ICAD, 24 volts DC. It could be easily confused. So here you got input signal. Let's see here. Yeah, ICM feedback or level signal. Relay outputs, 3 of them. Current output, you can select 0 to 20 or 4 to 20. Valve connection, ICM or AKBA, we talked about that. Yeah, data communication, we have Modbus on this. Environmental, I'm not going to go over. What else is in that? Nothing. Power consumption. It depends on what you're using, if it's AKBA or not, as to what it consumes. And then the connections are a little different on this controller. That's why I have this slide, honestly, to just show you. So there's 2 levels. There's the upper terminal switch connections, and there's the lower. So I just bring this up because there's so many connections available that there's 2 levels. So on the upper level, the one closest to you, you're going to have the sensor from the level sensor. You're going to have the feedback for the ICM, or if you're using a different level sensor, it could be like the AKS 4100, but we don't have that one anymore. But it could be something else. And then on the bottom, I think it's mostly Modbus and excuse me a minute here. I can't see that. That is really hard to see. I don't know.
It's over here. See it here?
What's that?
It's over here.
Oh, that's the ICM valve. Power, yeah, that's the signal from the ICM valve. And then there's a Modbus there. Okay. Wow, it's kind of small. It's already small, and then it's smaller. So anyway, and then on the lower terminal strip connections, it's going to be your alarms. So high alarm, low alarm, common alarm, EKE valve, and power. Okay, so the other one was on the upper level. That was Modbus, CAN bus, all that good stuff that people normally don't use. And then the relay function, okay, so you have a choice of normally closed or normally open. That's pretty straightforward, common. So however you want to use it and wire it, that's pretty much up to you. You have that flexibility. Okay, I know that was fast, but golly, I don't know. That's you got through kind of early. Yeah, I like that. So that's just an overview. We have one valve that I did not present on, and something you may not ever run into, but I have it, and it's called an oil return valve. Anybody ever seen one of these? Okay. So it's a temperature control valve for oil. You're basically mixing oil, so hot oil from the compressor, and then oil that's gone through the cooler, and then you get a certain temperature, you're going to mix them together, and the output's going to be whatever the thermostat inside here. It's like a car radiator thermostat in here, and it has a setting. I think this one's a 170, I think. I can't remember actually, to be honest with you. But there's several different settings, and it's called an ORV valve. So this guy's seen one. I've seen them in certain plants. I've seen them on compressor packages.
I've seen them on compressor packages.
Yeah.
Thermal siphon.
Thermal siphon, there you go.
Filter.
So it's just something, it's not terribly complex. We can take the top off and you can see the thermostat, but honestly, you're gonna look at it and go, yeah, that makes sense. Pretty easy to work on, pretty easy to troubleshoot. I would just, most people just say, give me a new thermostat, and we'll try a different setting, whatever. But the only problem I've actually heard of out there that sounds pretty interesting is there's one job where the guy I don't know what it is, but he's changed them 100 times, and the thermostat itself just keeps hanging up, just keeps sticking. And I don't know, we just don't know what is going on. So we finally just told him, look, we hate to tell you this, but we think it's in the body. How old is it? Oh, he says, it's been in there forever. He says, we just keep, I'm like, we don't know you don't want to do this, but we recommend that you get a new one and just put a new body in there because something's warped, something's going wrong. We think he did it because we never heard back from the guy. He kind of went away. So just one that I didn't talk about that's good to know. We do make service wrenches. There's a part number for these. I don't encourage them, but they're kind of nice. They're ratchet wrenches. They're millimeter size. And there's actually 3 of them. There's the small one here for the service valves and the purge valves. And then there's the large ones for the large valves, for the openers, the manual openers. Okay, feel free to hang around for a few minutes. I'm going to be kind of putting this stuff away, but if you got any questions right now, we'll go ahead and entertain those. Otherwise, you can walk up and talk to me while I'm kind of putting my stuff away. So
Nice meeting you.
okay, I appreciate you coming, man. I know it's a time out of your day, and it means a lot to me for you guys to show up.
Thank you, Patrick.
Very
Thank you.
entertaining.
It's informative.
Very entertaining.
Oh, I mean,